Developing news coming out today, July 22nd, 2025, as we're seeing in the last 24 hours, an interview. I'm going to be sharing it with you so you can see it for yourself between Fox's Brett Bauer and the Foreign Minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi. Now, take a look at the latest headlines, and we're going to get into all the details of this. The Iranian Foreign Minister confirms nuclear sites were seriously damaged by the U.S. strikes, but vows that they will continue their uranium enrichment and says we can never give it up. They will not stop their enrichment of their uranium, which could equal nuclear weapons. And coming out today, you can see July 22nd, 2025, Iran builds alliance with China and Russia in the face of U.S. threats. I'm going to be playing for you a lot of video footage that's coming out. Now, we're going to watch this interview. It's about 15 minutes long. I'm going to play the whole thing so you can see it. And you're going to hear Abbas Araghchi say that they will not stop enriching their uranium. They will do so. And yes, they do support those proxy groups, Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, that shout death to America, death to the United States. And he says that, yes, they do shout that, but Iran doesn't shout that. And at first he denies that it even happens. He says that Iran is a peaceful nation and that these claims are U.S. propaganda. He also says that death to America doesn't mean death to its people or its citizens, but it means death to U.S. policies. And he says there are no assassination attempts in the works against Donald Trump planned by Iran. He says their nuclear facilities have been damaged, but again, he said that they will never give up their enrichment of uranium. It is their national pride, and they have the right to do so. And now is not the time for negotiation talks between Iran and the United States. They're not listening. They're going to go ahead and move forward with what they have planned. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you buying any of it? Do you think that Iran can be trusted? If so, put yes. If no, put no. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But I'm going to play for you the video footage so you can see it for yourself. And do me a favor, if you appreciate the updates, sharing with you the latest, putting it on the screen, reading right from it, playing the actual video footage. Take a second, hit that like button for me. Helps out the channel a ton. I would appreciate it. Helps me while I'm live, and also to stay up to date. It's totally free. Why not go ahead and hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell, and you're going to get to see the actual footage of the Foreign Minister, Abbas Araghchi, as he is responding to these questions. And Brett Bauer, I feel like, does a really great job of going right to the questions, asking about the assassinations, asking about the nuclear threat, asking about these proxy groups. We've heard of sleeper cells that not only want to attack Israel and U.S. military assets, but also attacks on U.S. soil. He's getting right to it. So let's go ahead and take a look so you can see it for yourself. And here's an interview covering it from Fox Live Now.
We do want to stay, though, in the Middle East. Today on the Fox News program Special Report, hosted by anchor Brett Bauer, he had an exclusive interview with the Iranian foreign minister, talking about their now heavily damaged nuclear enrichment program because of those U.S. and Israeli strikes, and whether or not they could rebound or bounce back from that. So this was a huge get by Brett Bauer and his team there. What we want to do right now is play out for you that entire interview. It aired tonight. It's about 15 minutes. Let's watch.
Are you open to direct talks with the Trump administration to try to find a solution that could de-escalate heightened regional tension after all that's happened?
Well, we are open to talks. Not direct for the time being. If they are coming for a win-win solution, I am ready to engage with them. I mean that we are ready to do any confidence-building measure needed to prove that Iran's nuclear program is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever, and Iran would never go for nuclear weapons. And in return, we expect them to lift their sanctions. This is a win-win game, and we are ready to engage in that. We cannot start these negotiations in a direct way. We still prefer indirect negotiations.
Were you truly empowered to make a deal if it came to that? There are people, obviously, who wonder whether you are empowered by the Ayatollah to make such a deal. Are you?
Well, of course I was empowered to make a deal. If you ask me about the negotiations I had with Mr. Witkoff, I think there was a possibility to make a deal. I told Mr. Witkoff very clearly several times that if the purpose of these talks is to achieve a deal in which Iran commits itself permanently not to go for nuclear weapons, that deal is achievable. But if you want to deprive us from our legitimate rights, including, enrichment, that is not going to happen.
But why not import enriched uranium, as other countries do, as part of the deal? Why not do it that way?
Well, because this is an achievement, a scientific achievement that we have been achieved by ourselves. Why we should import something that we can produce by ourselves?
Because you take it past the percentage. You take it to 90% or 60% and instead of 35%.
No. We never go to 90%. We remain committed to below 5% for, to produce fuel for nuclear power plants. And we also enriched up to 20% because we have a research reactor in Tehran, which is called Tehran Research Reactor, TRR. So we are enriching uranium for our own needs. And we once went up to 60%, and that was after the sabotage in our nuclear facilities. And then we, go up to 60%. But I was a negotiator at that time. I told our interlocutors that we immediately go down if a nuclear deal is achieved.
Mr. Foreign Minister, what is the extent of the damage to the nuclear enrichment program after these attacks?
Well, our facilities have been damaged, seriously damaged, the extent of which is now under evaluation by our Atomic Energy Organization. But as far as I know, they are seriously damaged.
Did the already enriched material survive? Is it accessible?
Well, I have no detailed information. As I said, our Atomic Energy Organization is responsible for that. They are now trying to, evaluate what has exactly happened to our nuclear material, to our enriched material, and we will soon inform, the agency, IAEA, about the exact, that what has exactly happened to our enriched uranium. We have not stopped our cooperation with the agency. We continue working with them. We need a new modality because the facilities have been destroyed. So
you're saying that you may allow UN inspectors back into your country, all the sites, the IAEA, to see all the sites?
Well, based on the modality that we come to with the agency, that would be possible, case by case. So any request by the agency to visit any place or to send inspectors or whatever should be carefully considered by our Supreme National Security Council.
Hello, my name is Adam Ferrari, the Chief Executive Officer of Phoenix Energy. I look forward to you.
Because of the safety and security concerns.
Understanding those concerns, does Iran plan to reconstitute its enrichment program? Is it continuing now, or has the damage been so severe that it is all stopped?
It is now stopped because, yes, damages are serious and severe. But obviously, we cannot give up our enrichment because it is an achievement of our own scientists. And now, more than that, it is a question of national pride. Our enrichment is so dear to us. We are ready to engage into negotiation to make sure that our enrichment is only for peaceful purposes. We prefer a negotiated solution. Right. We are not ready to give up something which is now a question of a matter of dignity for the Iranian people, a matter of national pride. Mm-hmm. So rest assured that we want to continue our enrichment, but of course we prefer a negotiated a solution for that.
Mr. Minister, with all due respect, obviously it's not just the U.S. and Israel, but other world leaders who have concerns about the enrichment program. Why would you need to put it a half mile under a mountain facility to protect it if it was a completely peaceful program? That's just some of the thoughts about it. Secondly, President Trump has said he would not hesitate to launch more strikes if Iran tries to rebuild its enrichment program. So what's your response to President Trump?
Because of the, constant threats by Israelis, by, the United States in the past, we had no way but to protect our facilities and to protect our material and protect our scientists. So my message to the United States is that let's go for a negotiated solution for Iran's nuclear program. And we did that in the past, in 2015, after 2.5 years of negotiation, in which I was a negotiator myself. We came to that solution. That was called JCPOA, or Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. Maybe the current administration doesn't like that, but we can come to a similar deal, a better deal than that. I think that was proved that there is no military option to destroy our nuclear program. Yes, facilities have been destroyed. They are severely destroyed, but the technology is there. Our nuclear program, our enrichment program is not something imported from outside that can be destroyed by bombings. It is developed by ourselves. It is an achievement by ourselves. The technology is there. The scientists are there. The people who have run these facilities are there. Buildings can be rebuilt. Facilities can be rebuilt. Machines can be, replaced because the technology is there. I think the recent attack proved that there is no military option for our nuclear program. But I tell you, there is a negotiated solution for our nuclear program. We have done it once in the past. We are ready to do it once again.
Mr. Minister, if you'll stand by, please. More with the foreign minister from Iran after this. How would you describe the state of Iran's missile program? Hundreds were used during the war with Israel, many destroyed. How would you describe the state of that?
Well, I think we are in a good shape right now. The capability is still there. Our missiles are our most reliable means of defense. So we continue our missile program. Right now, it's still in a very good shape. We have a good number of missiles to defend ourselves.
Is the Ayatollah in good health? We haven't heard from him in a long time.
I met him today. He's in a very good shape and in a very good health. And I think, the whole system in Iran is quite stable and strong.
Mr. Minister, is Iran currently trying to assassinate President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, former Ambassador John Bolton, and other Trump administration officials in the wake of the death of Qasem Soleimani?
No, we have never said that. Maybe some individuals here or there have said things like that, but that has never been Iran's official position.
Mr. Minister, the Ayatollah has said death to America, and that means death to Trump. That is from the Supreme Leader. The New York Post had the Iranian fatwa crowdfunding effort, claims to have raised $40 million for bounty on President Trump's head. The campaign, organized by a group known as the Blood Covenant, comes after multiple Iranian clerics issued fatwas or death warrants against Trump. So you can see why the administration is looking at some of these signals, saying that you are doing that.
No, I think they are all propagandas. We have always said, the Supreme Leader and other officials in Iran have always said that death to America is in fact death to the, hegemonic policies of the United States, not to the people of United States. Yes, there are some perhaps radicals, persons or groups here and there in different places, inside, outside of Iran, who may say something like what you said, but that has never been our policy, and they will never be in our policy in the future. This is not our policy to kill anybody outside Iran, let alone the president of another country.
With all due respect, you're supplying arms and drones and missiles to Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. The Houthis are firing on U.S. and international ships. Obviously, the actions of Hamas and Hezbollah, no matter what you say their motivation is, are causing death, and efforts like that, and you're supporting all of those groups, your proxies.
Well, I'm not going to compare, but you know, what you said is exactly what Americans and Israelis are doing. The United States have supported Israel with all kinds of weapons, sophisticated weapons, to kill people in Palestine, in Gaza, in the West Bank, in Lebanon, in Syria, now in Iran, and in Yemen. We believe that those freedom fighters, let me say, Hamas, Hezbollah, Houthis, they are fighting for a just cause, and we have always supported them politically and in other ways, because we think that they are, as I said, fighting for something absolutely legitimate.
Even if that fighting, in their words, is about wiping Israel off the face of the map.
Well, if we have never said that.
They have.
Well, that is up to them. They are fighting for their own homeland, so they may say anything. But this has never been Iran's policy to wipe out Israel from the map.
Do you plan to continue to support Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis?
We continue to support them as long as they are supporting for their cause, for their justified demands.
But those are not justified demands, Mr. Minister. Annihilating Israel, wiping them off the face of the earth, that's what their pledge is.
I think Palestinians are fighting for their right for self-determination. Israel has made out of occupation, out of occupation of Palestinians' lands, out of the massacre of Palestinians in their homelands.
Let me wrap up with this, and we really appreciate the time and you coming on to talk about this. The message you've sent here is that you think a negotiated settlement is possible. You're sending a message of peace, you say, in your words. But the stopping enrichment inside Iran is a non-starter. It is a red line for Iran. Is that what you're communicating today?
If the goal is to make sure that Iran will never have nuclear weapons, that is achievable. But if the goal is to deprive Iran from its rights, including the right of enrichment, I think we have difficulty. Enrichment is now stopped because our facilities have been under attacks. But any settlement for Iran's nuclear program should include enrichment in the future, because that is our right. We can never give it up.
And if the deal included something about a reduction in missile production or a reduction in funding for terrorist proxies who you call freedom fighters, could that be also part of a deal?
Well, on our missiles, as I said, that is our most reliable means of defense. How we can disarm ourselves? Who can accept any deal like that? So we will never disarm ourselves, but I can tell you that our missiles have deterrent nature. They are for defense, they are not for offense. And also, I can assure you that Iran's missiles would never have a nuclear warhead. That is for sure.
And lastly, can you envision a time where you would have direct talks with either President Trump or the Trump administration?
Teenagers are building businesses with AI, while the only AI you know is ChatGPT.
Let's be real.
Not for the time being, but maybe in the future. Everything depends if the United States is ready to deal with Iran on an equal footing, on mutual respect, and based on mutual interests, knew we are ready to continue on other subjects. But unfortunately, the JCPOA or the previous deal didn't become a successful story, didn't become a successful experience for us. And this is why we are very skeptical with Americans right now. This is why we are not ready to engage with them directly. But the moment we feel that everything is in the right order, then everything is possible.
Mr. Foreign Minister, we appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us, and we'd love to have you back as things move forward.
My pleasure. Thank you for.
Okay, so that had a lot of news in it. Some of the headlines there you heard. The last question, the Iranian foreign minister saying now is not the time for direct talks between the U.S. and Iran, but acknowledging, and this was really the main lead of that incredible interview, the Iranian foreign minister acknowledging that the U.S. strikes on those nuclear facilities heavily damaged the very facilities in question here. So quite the acknowledgement, quite the statement from Iranian officials. Well, President Trump also weighing in on this interview, live picture there at the White House. He posted on Truth Social today saying this after that interview aired live, saying Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi on the Iran nuclear sites, damages are very severe. They are destroyed. He says, of course they are, just like I said, and we will do it again if necessary, as interviewed by Brett Baer. Fake news CNN, he says, should immediately fire their phony reporter and apologize to me and the great pilots who obliterated Iran's nuclear sites. CNN is a major ratings loser, as is MSDNC. So he's referring to a report, remember, by CNN's Natasha Bertrand that called into question some of the intelligence on whether or not these nuclear sites were heavily damaged and whether or not Iran's nuclear weapons program was heavily curtailed in the wake of these strikes there by those U.S. bunker buster bombs dropped from those B-52 planes.
There you have it, you guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So that was the interview that took place. Now, you heard a lot of stuff there, and let me ask you this. Do you think Iran can be trusted? If you think so, put yes, or excuse me, put that it was the truth. Or if you think there were lies, put lies, as he said that they're not seeking nuclear warheads. He said that everything they're trying to do is peaceful. He said that they are not trying to assassinate Trump. They're not trying to attack the United States or Israel, that it is all U.S. propaganda. He said that they support the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah and these proxy groups in their efforts. They will continue to support them, and they call them freedom fighters. And they said that they don't believe that they shout death to America, death to Israel, but if they do, that they can say whatever they want, and if as they shout that, it's not likely death to the people of America, just to the policies of the government. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that's a bunch of lies, or you think it's the truth? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. You also heard him say there at the end that he said a lot of damage was done to those nuclear facilities. However, they're not going to stop. They believe they have the right to continue enriching, and now is not the time for negotiations. They're going to go ahead and continue on with what they so choose, and that they could potentially work out some sort of negotiations, but we will see. Now, let me know your thoughts, truth or lie, in the comments. And if you haven't done so yet, take a second, hit that like button for me. And also take a look at this. Coming out today, we're hearing that right now, Iran is trying to build an alliance with China and Russia in the face of U.S. threats. Now, I'm going to play for you some more video footage on this so you can see it here in just a second. But take a look at this with me. Iran, China, and Russia, the unification of U.S. adversaries. And this is the concern and why all the talk about World War III are adversaries unifying. They are set to discuss the threat of sanctions and its nuclear program in a meeting in Tehran on Tuesday, according to the Islamic Republic News Agency. Newsweek has reached out to the U.S. State Department for comments. Now, here's why it matters. Iran is actively seeking support from Russia and China in the aftermath of the U.S. airstrikes that damaged key nuclear facilities during a 12-day conflict with Israel last month. The meeting comes during ongoing tensions over Iran's nuclear program and stalled talks with the United States. President Donald Trump said that he would hit Iranian nuclear sites again if necessary, reiterating his warning to Tehran that it should abandon its ambitions to keep enriching uranium, which Iran said it will not agree to. And we literally just saw that interview right now where they said they have no plans of stopping whatsoever. So we're going to see where we go from here. And here's what to know. We are in constant consultation with these two countries to prevent activation of a snapback or mitigate its consequences, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakia said at a press briefing on Monday in reference to a snapback mechanism for sanctions if there is no deal on Iran's nuclear program. We have aligned positions and good relations, he was quoted as saying by Iran international outlets. Iran and Russia have launched joint naval drills this week in the Caspian Sea, while top Iranian officials, including Defense Minister Aziz Nasrallah, the senior advisor Ali Larijani, met with Russia's leadership and President Vladimir Putin in Moscow this week. Iran's army announced a heightened state of readiness, warning that it would deliver a crushing and devastating response to any future strikes on its military or nuclear installations. And to clarify, as we cover this, these were threats against the United States. Now, in 2015, Iran and several world powers, including France, the UK, Germany, they signed the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, or the JCPOA, an agreement aimed at limiting Tehran's nuclear activities in exchange for sanctions relief. The JCPOA is set to expire in October. The U.S. exited the accord in 2018 under Trump, reimposing sanctions. Tehran says its program is civilian, but the U.S. and ally Israel accuse it of seeking nuclear weapons. We cannot give up enrichment because it is an achievement of our own scientists. And now, more than that, it is a question of national pride, Argachis told Fox News' Brett Bauer on Monday. So here's what people are saying. China's foreign ministry spokesperson told during a press briefing, this is what he said: the Iranian nuclear issue is concerned with peace and security in the Middle East and is also concerned with the international non-proliferation regime. We always believe a diplomatic approach should be used to resolve the Iranian nuclear issue, and this is the only right way. We call on all parties to walk in the same direction and to contribute to the political settlement track of the Iranian nuclear issue. Iran's foreign minister Abbas Arghachi, in a letter to the UN and the EU representatives, said the E3 must heed their own advice to the U.S. in their letter of 20 August 2020 and refrain from any action that would only deepen divisions in the Security Council or that would have serious adverse consequences on its work. Russia Foreign Ministry said on Sunday, at the instruction of the Supreme Leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, Ali Larijani presented the views of the Islamic Republic on the current escalation in the Middle East and notably surrounding Iran's nuclear program. The Russian side expressed support for the stabilization of the situation in the region and resolving any issues pertaining to Iran's nuclear program via political means. So here's what happens next. Tehran will meet with France, Britain, and Germany, the E3 in Istanbul on Friday for renewed nuclear talks. The continued standoff over its nuclear program increases the risk of further military action by Israel or the United States. And we heard Donald Trump say, "I will hit you again. Do not try to enrich uranium without some sort of deal, or we will strike you and strike you hard." Iran issuing threats back. Let me know your thoughts on this. If you like the way Donald Trump is handling this, drop a 47 in the comments. But as I mentioned, we're hearing right now that there is potential for them to unify Iran with Russia, China, other nations that are adversaries to the United States. And we're going to be seeing where we go from here. And we're hearing that the U.S. and Israel could attack Iran again if they decide that they are just not going to participate, that Iran is just going to do whatever it wants. Let's take a look at this video footage so you can see it for yourself.
Welcome back. Iran is holding talks today with Russia and China. They're seeking some help to avoid snapback UN sanctions if they do not make a nuclear deal by the end of August, as President Trump has given them a 50-day deadline. Iran also speaking with France, Germany, and the UK this upcoming Friday. Now, Tehran says it will not give up its nuclear enrichment, even as its foreign minister admits to Fox News that the U.S. severely damaged its nuclear sites. Watch this.
Why not import enriched uranium, as other countries do, as part of the deal? Why not do it that way?
Well, because this is an achievement, a scientific achievement that we have been achieved by ourselves. Why we should import something that we can produce by ourselves?
What is the extent of the damage to the nuclear enrichment program after these attacks?
Well, our facilities have been damaged, seriously damaged. The extent of which is now under evaluation by our Atomic Energy Organization. But as far as I know, they are seriously damaged.
Seriously damaged. The foreign minister also told Brett that Iran is open to talks, but not direct talks with the Trump administration. Brett pressed him on Iran's threats against President Trump's life as well. Watch.
Mr. Minister, is Iran currently trying to assassinate President Trump, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, former Ambassador John Bolton, and other Trump administration officials in the wake of the death of Qasem Soleimani?
No, we have never said that. Maybe some individuals here or there have said things like that, but that has never been Iran's official position.
Mr. Minister, the Ayatollah has said death to America, and that means death to Trump. That is from the Supreme Leader. So you can see why the administration is looking at some of these signals, saying that you are doing that.
No, I think they are all propagandas. You know, we have always said, the Supreme Leader and other officials in Iran have always said that death to America is in fact death to the, hegemonic policies of the United States, not to the people of United States. This is not our policy to kill anybody outside Iran, let alone the president of another country.
Joining me now with reaction is Fox News senior strategic analyst and chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, General Jack Keane. General, great to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Are we supposed to buy that death to America means death to hegemonic policies and not death to anyone?
Yeah, well, it's pretty hard to buy much of anything he says. Certainly, there are credible threats. One that was thwarted against former National Security Advisor Ambassador John Bolton, credible threats against Mike Pompeo, and multiple threats against President Trump, all coming from the Iranian regime. He's standing there, sitting there, on special report last night, lying through his teeth. And he also tries to make the point that they're only developing civil nuclear power. Now think about that for a second. Then why do you need 12 nuclear sites spread out throughout the country? Why are 3 of them deeply buried sites, hundreds of feet underneath the ground? Why do you need enriched uranium beyond 5%, which is in the neighborhood of civil nuclear power? Why, after all 4 decades of developing civil nuclear power, have you only produced 1 civil nuclear power plant? Why have that many nuclear scientists? I mean, Israelis have been killing nuclear scientists for years. Why do you have so many nuclear scientists if you just want to develop a nuclear power plant? The capabilities on how to do that are well known throughout the world today. These people have been about building nuclear weapons for decades. That's where they are, and that's where they will continue to be. And as soon as they can recover from those sites and likely start at new sites, the United States and Israeli intelligence are watching that like a hawk, Maria, and they will likely reattack when they begin to rebuild that program.
Unbelievable. You know what else is unbelievable is what Marco Rubio told me a couple of weeks ago, and that is that Iran continues to insist on having indirect talks with the United States. Right, General? I mean, they won't have direct talks with the United States. They have to have mediators involved. Why? Why can't they just speak to the United States directly? And Marco Rubio said, that's it. It's over. We're not doing this anymore.
Well, then what you wind up doing is exchanging notes to intermediaries, which is a lot easier to deal with than having a face-to-face confrontation. Usually, the beauty of having face-to-face talks is that you react to each other.
Yeah.
And over time, you get to develop at least some rapport about the negotiations themselves as the same people continue to negotiate and negotiate. They don't want any part of that. It's all part of the stall campaign that they have when it comes to negotiations. President Trump saw right through it. They gave them 60 days. On the 61st day, Israel attacked. That's where we are with these guys. We know they lie through their teeth. They know they cheat, and they're going to continue to do that.
Well, now you've got the UK, Canada, Japan, 25 other countries out with a statement declaring the war in Gaza must end now. They're condemning Israel, though, and the delivery methods and the reported killings of civilians at the sites. Israel rejecting the statement, calling it disconnected from reality, sending the wrong message to Hamas. When I talked to Netanyahu about a week ago, here's what he said about Hamas running the aid, which is one of their demands. Watch this.
So would you be poised to agree to some of those demands, such as the UN back in charge of humanitarian food distribution?
Well, among them, but we have our own distribution system that has been established to prevent Hamas from stealing the food that is supposed to go to the population. They steal it, they take it for themselves, and the remainder they hike the prices and basically extort the Palestinian population in order to use it to continue recruiting people to their war machine, so their terror machine. So obviously, we don't want to give up the thing that we began with, which is distribution that goes directly to the people. It doesn't go through the Hamas, the Hamas pillage. I think it'll probably end up for the 60 days with both.
You've got so many moving parts here, General. You've got, this expectation that Syria is coming around and they are becoming, an ally of the United States. And then you've got the open question of Russia and whether or not we're going to see sanctions. What do you think is most important here? And do you think we will ultimately see sanctions on UN sanctions snapback on Russia? Because Trump gave
first
Russia
of all,
the 50-day period too, right?
Sure. I mean, the 28 nations all organized and asking Israel to stop the war. Let's put the facts on the table here. Hamas started this war.
Right.
And Hamas has protracted the war. I mean, Netanyahu and his team have offered Hamas leadership, those that are still alive, an exit from Gaza, free. You can go free. And also, those behind demilitarize and give up political control of the Gazan people. He's offering them their freedom, and they're rejecting it. And so the war goes on because they continue to arm now teenagers to compensate for the 20,000 loss of life of their fighters. When it comes to the food distribution, the UN food distribution network is corrupt because Hamas controls it. They finance themselves from it, but they also use it, and this is important, of political control over the people. Yes. That is why Netanyahu and the United States have organized to have a separate food distribution system. Admittedly, they need more food distribution points in that system. I think that's fair criticism. But the overall criticism of Hamas being involved in the food distribution makes no sense, whatsoever. And going forward here, I do think there will be snapback sanctions at the end of August. Yeah. Any one of the nations can do it. Obviously, Russia and China is not going to do it, but the other three nations, the United Kingdom, France, and Germany, can do it. And I think we'll see that happen, and that will be a good thing, added pressure on the Iranians.
Yeah, it's like that's the only thing he responds to. Pressure on his money machine, which is, of course, oil and gas. General, it's great to see you. Thanks so much for weighing in on all of that. We so appreciate you.
There you have it, you guys. Wow. Let me know your thoughts. And do you agree with him? He said that he believes that there will be sanctions. In other words, Russia, Ukraine, that conflict is not going to be resolved in the next 50 days. And as you know, we saw Donald Trump say we will send U.S. weapons. We will sell them to NATO to be used in Ukraine. So Russia will be hit with U.S. Missiles. Russia will be hit with those Patriot defense systems. Also, in addition to that, he said that you'll be hit with secondary 100% tariffs as well. Anybody that's working with Russia. And what we're hearing is that within 48 hours of that, Putin came out and said preemptive strikes could be on the table. Russia coming out and saying there could be response to this, nuclear threats, things escalating. And now we're hearing the United States saying, okay, we're sending the missiles now. It's happening. U.S. and Germany sending over those Patriot systems as well. So it's just escalating. Here you have Jack Keane saying he predicts that over the course of the next 50 days, this war will still not be over. It is going to just simply escalate. Sanctions will have to be in place. And as I just shared with you, the video footage coming out with Abbas Aragachi, however you pronounce his name, minister coming out and saying all of these things, saying that Iran is peaceful, they're not trying to get nuclear warheads, and there's not going to be any talks with the United States at this time unless the U.S. totally shifts its position. We've heard that Donald Trump has said that we cannot live in a world where Iran has enriched uranium to the point where they could have nuclear warheads. We're hearing they have enough uranium that is enriched to 60%, where if they took it to 90, they could have maybe 9 to a dozen different warheads. They could use that on Israel, the U.S. As we saw, they shout death to America, death to Israel. They call Israel the little Satan, America the big Satan. Let me know your thoughts. Where do you think we're going to go from here? Are things going to de-escalate? Are we going to have peace or war? Let me know in the comments what you think, peace or war. And if you haven't done so yet, take a second. If you appreciate the footage, the coverage of this unfolded over the last 24 hours. We saw this interview. Take a second, hit that like button for me. Also, these articles are linked in the description. I cite all the sources, put it on the screen, read right from it so you can see it for yourself and know that it is the latest. So hit that like button, subscribe to stay up to date. As more comes out, I'll keep you up to speed. But that is the latest as of today, July 22nd, 2025. And I'll continue to keep you guys up to date as more unfolds. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.